technical difficulties.
I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, March 4th, 2019 to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Charlie, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm just going to take a quick moment. For those who watch this tape later on, this is Monday morning. This meeting's a little bit delayed owing to the significant snowstorm. But I've been out on the roads a little bit, and I think some of you have as well recently. Just a terrific job by our Public Works Department once again. These guys were in around 9 o'clock last night, 8:30, 9 o'clock last night, prepping and getting ready to go. And the roads look actually absolutely spectacular when I was just out on them. So thanks again to the Public Works for the work they do for us, make our streets safe. Item 2, approve the minutes. That would be 2.1, the February 19th, 2019 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to do so? A second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, changes, deletions, et cetera? I had none.
No.
Got one there, Lou?
There was just, I didn't quite understand language in one section. In item 7, discussion on plastic bag ban, it says, Mr. Hoey says the board charged Sustainable Guilford with the Sustainable Guilford certification,
Yeah.
and also to look at the plastic bag. I guess that's what we mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Charge, in other words,
We didn't arrest them or
we
accuse
gave,
them.
we gave them that task.
We gave them a charge, that's right.
All right, that's fine. It doesn't need a change.
Thank you. In the future, are there better words that I should use?
I don't know. I don't know. It's
Task them?
Just, sure. I don't want to quibble.
That's fine. Is that it?
That was the only one I saw.
Anybody else? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Recusals? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, let's move on to item 3, discuss and take possible action to set a public hearing date of Wednesday, March 20th, 2019, 7:30 p.m. at the Community Center, discuss the 2019 Community Development Block Grant and solicit input from the public at such time. As you may recall from our last meeting, we had the presentation from Kelly Fitzgerald from United Way. This is the Housing Diversion Program. Guilford intends to act as the fiduciary, the financial agent to secure the funds. And we've started down the process. So this public hearing is a requisite step. We applied, we sent a letter of intent in that we intend to apply and are currently working on our application that will be submitted. I think it's April 4th or something along that date. Don't hold me to that one. So this is the public hearing, the requisite public hearing. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I got one. As I understood the presentation that we had last meeting, this will be a revenue-neutral event for
Correct.
us, other than some
Right.
administrative time to submit the applications and such.
Which we are entitled to take some chargebacks against the grant
Okay.
for our administrative time.
Okay. But
Whether-
and the actual running of it, there'll be someone
It's
hired.
done by
to
someone
run it.
else, that's exactly what it is. The
Yeah.
RFP we will be submitting will be for an agency to actually administer the program.
The revenue will come into our accounts and we will be cutting the checks, but they will be administering all of that and letting us know what we need to pay and when revenue is coming, so.
Anything further?
Welcome other thoughts from the community.
Yeah. Well, please join us on Wednesday, the 20th. So, is there a motion to set the public hearing date on March 20th, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. in the Community Center?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 4, excuse me, appointments and resignations. Act on the appointment of John Siviak to the Land Acquisition Commission as the Shellfish Commission representative for a term to expire February 28th, 2021. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 4.2, act on the appointment of Kimberly Brockett to the Land Acquisition Commission as the Agricultural Commission representative for a term to expire September 29th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Yes, so moved.
And a second. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Just a nice comment. It's nice to have Kimberly back in town. She was working out of town for a while and could not volunteer her services. I had the pleasure of serving with her on the Board of Finance for a number of years, and she made tremendous contributions, so nice to have her back. 4.3, act on an appointment of Philip Johnson to the Land Acquisition Commission as the Planning and Zoning Commission representative for a term to expire February 28th, 2022. Is there a motion? Oh, let me make that motion. He's a neighbor
I'll
of mine.
second it.
In a second. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Okay. 4.4, act on resignation received from Laura Malice from the Conservation Commission. Is there a motion? With
So
With-
with regret.
With regret and appreciation, certainly, and seconded. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Item 5, request for use of town property, Guilford High School Theater Arts to place a sign on the green advertising its spring play taking place March 22nd to the 30th, 2019. Sign placement 3:16 to 3:30. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 5.2, act on request from the Soccer Club of Guilford to place a sign on the green advertising spring soccer.
Ah, that's a good sign.
Yeah, it is.
Love that.
Spring. Is there a motion?
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 5.3, act on a request for Boy Scouts Troop 474 to use the green and place a sign on the green advertising its 54th annual Strawberry Social taking place June 2nd, 2019. And contrary to rumor, Lou hasn't been there for all of them, but he,
As many as I can possibly make them,
That's
so I would love to make that motion for approval of the sign.
Second.
call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Item 6, correspondence. Does anybody have anything under correspondence? I didn't. All right, move on to 7, committee reports.
Aaron and I have gone back and forth a couple times, so
Okay.
I'm still waiting on the form. This poor thing has taken a long time to get off the ground, but
Okay.
I'm hopeful we're still moving forward.
Good, good. Well, most of their attention is currently being paid to the permit process over there. However, that she is aware that this will have an impact on that permitting process.
Okay.
Right.
Sounds good.
Good.
I have something too for the
Yes.
housing.
Yes.
As I previously reported for the Housing for Economic Development Plan Committee, we had asked for RFPs for hoping to develop some affordable housing on the Woodruff Rollwood property. The deadline for the RFPs was February 15th. We received 5 applications, and the committee is actually meeting tonight to look at the applications and set up interview evaluation plan, so that hopefully one of those agencies will be able to do this. So I'm very happy about that, and I will
Excellent.
keep you in the loop.
Please do. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Old business. Anybody have anything under old business? New business? Before we go into public forum, just as a, for the viewing audience, so this tape may or may not run in time, but tomorrow evening at 7:30 at the community center is the annual, the Board of Finance's annual budget hearing, where we will be presenting the town budget alongside the Board of Education. Just one thing that I think we all need to be aware of, the governor's put out his budget a week and a half ago, and it is not kind to us. However, it is better than the last governor's proposal, where we were zeroed out and actually had to write a check to the state for 250, would have had to write a check for 250,000. So I'm sure there will be some interesting discussions with the Board of Finance. More than likely, those won't take place tomorrow. There may be some cursory discussions about that tomorrow, but Thursday, their first workshop will be where we get down to brass tacks on it. So if anyone wants to attend and participate, because this is not just a one-man show here, so I welcome your support and your participation and your counsel, so.
Well, and there are multiple issues at the state level that, depending how they resolve themselves,
Right.
could affect this year's budget.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, it isn't as if
Right.
they're talking about things that are going to happen,
Right.
Such as, the pension contribution, the
Right.
teacher
Teachers,
pension
right.
contribution, things like that. Those, if some of those things go through, they will affect this year's budget. So.
Right, while we're talking about, just for those in the viewing audience, we're anticipating a total impact of somewhere around $780,000, 166,000 of which is designated for us to pay the normalized cost for or portion of the normalized cost for our teachers. The governor proposed a graduated scale for municipalities to pay those. Guilford happens to be one of those communities that is going to pay a little bit more because the average teacher salary is higher. Our salary is higher than the average teacher salary throughout the state. So that's one impact. The other was the governor has decided to completely accelerate the impacts of the changes to the ECS formula that were adopted last year. The legislature last year did adopt a change in the formula. However, there were communities like Guilford who would have been significantly negatively impacted, but they decided to phase them in over a series of years with 8% reductions until you actually got to whatever that number was. Kind of an interesting concept because they tweaked that ECS formula almost every year up there, and Guilford wound up last year being held virtually harmless. I think we budgeted, we had budgeted less than we had, but we were held relatively harmless. And let's also recall the year before when it was there were some draconian cuts that were suggested by the governor. We decided collectively, the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Education, that we had to do something in acknowledgement, and I think that's the year we took $1 million out of the anticipated ECS number. So I suspect there'll be some discussions with the Board of Finance similar to that. How far do we go? Don't know.
Yeah, and the problem is we don't know what these numbers are. So when we crafted the budget and sent it to the Board of Finance, we knew they were there, but they're not reflected in the budget because you just don't know what they're really going to be.
Yeah,
So.
we did our best effort, which was to assume that we'd get the same from the state that we did last
With the information
year.
that we had.
Right, that's right.
May I come back to the teacher pensions for a moment?
Certainly.
Actually, I was having a discussion about this last night with some Guilford citizens, and one of the people actually brought up, and this person was in favor of saying towns that pay their teachers more should pay more into this fund if we go to do it. So I think you just answered my question. They're not gonna make formulas for 169 towns, but they're gonna look at the normal salary. So I'm
Right.
assuming some towns might pay a little less if they are paying a little less than the normalized salary.
Correct.
And some towns that are
Correct.
paying greater may pay percentagely more.
Right.
I don't know if percentagely is a word, but
Well,
Yes,
certain
we-
cities are,
As a
approached differently
as a
too.
percentage. Yeah, so,
We don't
so,
know the number, that's the
Right.
point.
but I mean, the question that this person brought up, actually, I think you just answered it for me. It is being addressed because of the fact that salaries vary in
Right.
towns.
Exactly, and it's not, one shouldn't assume that it's the inner cities that are the ones that have the disproportionately low salaries.
No.
No, I
In
wasn't.
fact,
no.
it's the small little communities like Scotland and Andover and
Right.
and those places who are the
Right.
ones that typically pay their teachers significantly less. And the reality is, if you are in a pension plan, you should be paying the normalized cost for your teachers' salaries based on actuarial estimates as what it would take to provide the as-defined benefit at a later time. The challenge, and I actually had the opportunity last week at a COG meeting to have this discussion with Lieutenant Governor Susan Bizowitz, and I asked her, I said, how do you expect us to come to the table and pay for these things? We know the state has got some challenges, and we can assume, for sake of argument, that eventually we're going to have to absorb some of that. But how in good faith can we do that without being at the table when the negotiations are taking place? And I mentioned specifically that in Guilford, over the past several years, in the previous administrations, we have negotiated into our contracts defined contribution plans as opposed to defined benefit plans, and HSAs. So here we have a community like ours, where we are all defined contribution, with the exception of the teachers. And under normal circumstances, we would be negotiating with them to move to that plan going forward. So how do we have the opportunity to impact that process, as opposed to just saying, yes, sir, may I have another?
It's not only in negotiations, at a local level. I mean, if we're being asked to contribute, in the beginning, they're talking 25%, but, that could easily grow.
Right.
Okay, but, I think communities should also have some control of that pension, okay? Because, just the numbers, and they're very general, because it's hard to get exact information. The rate of return that they're anticipating in their pension management, it's just not, the last number I heard was like 8 or 9%.
It was at
It
eight,
just doesn't exist.
it was at 8, but these numbers reflect the governor's proposed revision down to 7% on the assumed number.
Those are the
So-
kinds
Right.
of,
Right.
sitting at the table, I think communities should have a representative.
That's
You know, 'cause
exactly
you
my
don't wanna
point.
end up in a situation where we're being mandated to contribute to something we have no control of,
Right.
and it potentially gets mismanaged, and we gotta pay the price again.
Right. The one good thing is that we are being, today, we are being asked to absorb only the normalized cost, not the ARC, which is the catch-up that the state has to do because of the years of neglect and non-funding of that program, but, so.
Not
but there's
easy
a-
to make those hard decisions, but when you make them, you want them to be fair
Fair,
across the board.
exactly. And of course, the challenge here is, once the nose is in the tent,
You know what's gonna happen.
you know it's coming after that, so. Anyway, so much for the
On
good, so much for the
the
good.
other hand, let me just say this, I mean, this, as you pointed out, it's been 3 years at least, maybe 4, where this has popped its head and it's been slapped down by the legislature, and the budget process has been thrown into, not disarray, but certainly uncertainty.
Right.
Over this issue, and we're almost better at some point, not understanding what we're gonna have to deal with,
Right.
and factoring it in our
Well,
process.
it's not
really.
unlike some of the decisions we made in local labor contracts. I mean,
Give
you know,
us
you-
what we gotta do and we'll do
yeah,
it.
figure out a fix and write the fix in and start, making the payments.
Right. I've had
But you
conversation-
gotta be part of the fix. You can't be
Yeah.
just throwing money at it.
I've had conversations with some of my counterparts at both CCM and at COG, particularly the communities that are known as donor communities, which is, we send a lot more money up to Hartford than we get back. And the sentiment is similar. Just let us know what is gonna happen. And I think Madison may have, or is on the path to saying, we're not gonna budget any state revenue. We're just not gonna budget
Well,
it.
words that were out last 2 years
Well,
ago.
yeah, they got whacked pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but at some point, our thinking may need to mirror that, as it continues to erode, at some point, we're just gonna say, we're not gonna have any state funding, and it's all gonna come from local revenues. So, I'm not saying we're there yet, and, because last year, based on the work
But
that
you
our
start managing the
legislative
town
delegation did.
based on those parameters.
That's right.
I mean, it's just simple. I mean, nobody likes them and they're not easy, but at some point, you gotta face reality.
That's right. Take your head out of sand and say, this is what's happening. All right, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that's part of our discussion. All right, any other new business? Public forum? Hearing none, is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss item 11?
So moved.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed,
Who
abstained?
are we inviting?
We're inviting Mitch and Mary Jane in for that.
Coming just for this.
Yeah, we'll come back. Sorry to throw you out, Fran.
If needed, that's if needed.
8:30 or 5?
Is there a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
And a second, we got both, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. As a result of discussions in our executive session, Is there a motion to approve a new policy known as the employee-to-employee caregiver paid leave policy? Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this? Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Also, we had a request from an individual to be a beneficiary of certain policies, which are now, we have now implemented, that would accommodate a portion of this request. So is there a motion to approve the request by Paula Wilson for consideration contained in the caregiver paid leave policy, Paula Wilson being the assistant town clerk?
I'll make the motion to approve that request.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Thank you all. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you.